Hello and welcome to this latest episode of the Picture Hub Show, a show where we talk about the creator economy, the business and the people behind content creation. I'm Costa, the creator, your host, and today with me I have Gamu and Taku. So ladies first, Gamu, tell us, who are you, where can you be found, what do you sell?
I mean, you kind of told them who I am, right? So I'm just going to carry on from there. Okay, I am Gamu. I'm a makeup artist. I'm based in Avondale. All my details are on my social media handles, platforms, Makeup by Gamu at makeup_by Gamu. Just a professional makeup artist. So for all things makeup, be it film, be it individual, be it classes, be it just general deportment, anything
Halloween.
that requires. Yes, that too. We do that. Yeah, we do that. So anything makeup related. Yeah. Basically, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Takunda Augustine Chipara, that's my full name. I'm a visual storyteller. So my mediums are photography, video. I particularly love documentary filmmaking, ads. I am the African Selfie Stick on Instagram and Threads. I don't know if we have to separate that.
Yeah.
And on LinkedIn, I have the African Selfie Stick page, but I operate more as my full name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm here to conquer fears and break a few legs.
Ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so content wars. The creators versus the corporates.
The corporates might complain that they don't have representation at this table. But
I mean, it's up to them. They could be up, but oh well.
Well, okay. Let's start light.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe I'll start with you, Taco. What are some of your pain points, when it comes to dealing with corporate?
Biggest thing is being undervalued.
Uh-huh.
Everything always has to happen according to their terms, which is annoying because it's supposed to be a partnership, isn't it? And I believe they leverage on the fact that they have with a strong legal backing or strong financial backing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if ever you were to complain, they'll take you to court
Yeah,
and rinse
yeah.
you dry of all your money. I think the biggest thing is there's too much bureaucracy.
Uh-huh.
So you may have an idea or whatever, and the initial touch point you have with that company is like, cool, that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
By the time it gets all the way to the person at the top, the final decision maker, it's like, no, I don't like it. And
Yeah.
I think that comes from everyone wants to have their hand in the pot. They want to see,
yeah.
oh, I contributed. But it's like, it's supposed to be for the best, or for the best of the brand.
Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
Those are my immediate pain points.
And come.
How much time do we have? Where do we begin? But like what he said, I think my major pain point would be being undervalued,
Yeah.
but not necessarily in the aspect of making decisions, but people don't take us seriously.
Yeah.
I'm just a makeup artist at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm very much disposable. There's always going to be someone out there who can do the job, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Forgetting that not everyone can do the job and execute it according to the standards required for whatever job they're presenting yourselves with. So it's that, and we are at the mercy of. Let's take for an example. It's an advertising agency.
Yeah.
We're at the mercy of an account executive. You have to smile at them. You have to know them. You have to undercut them or something.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, they always have a cousin or a friend or a church relative or something who's going to do the job better. And they will always justify why they had to hire somebody else instead of you. And you're not there to defend yourself. So it's being undervalued. It's basically that. Yeah. I would say that's like the major struggle we have.
Okay. So, and I'll bring it back to both of you, and I'll give you Gama a chance to respond first. When you say undervalued, who determines the value? I mean, like how is the value of a creator determined? Is it also not that we contribute to that where it's a professional setting, you show up late, your equipment is not up to. You can be very skilled. I've worked with some very skilled people, but like sometimes you just have to have that extra patience
So depending on the product you're trying to present to people, the product determines the value
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So take, for example, you want something A-class. You
Yeah.
want something that can sell worldwide.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to hire certain people. You want certain people who are skilled, certain people who've got the experience, certain people who can execute the job according to the standards that are needed for ABC.
Yeah.
So by so doing, you're going to have Taku on board, you're going to have Gamo on board, you're going to have Costa on
Yeah.
board. But now when you feel like, okay, fine, Costa, yes, definitely I've seen his work.
Yeah.
Taku, definitely, yes, he's got one or two things to contribute to. But it's just makeup.
Yeah.
It's that aspect of you rate what's important based on your understanding, not on what the product needs to achieve that perfect look
Yeah.
or to then sell to people.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about hiring someone who's skilled,
Yeah.
but also understanding the skill behind the person to contribute to the product. So the value of everything lies in the product, in the execution, in how it's presented to people.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to be selling a car, we all know, sorry to say, we all know sex sells.
Yeah.
We're going to need a very pretty model, show boobs,
Yeah,
etc.,
yeah,
etc.,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm not going to go and hire someone who's flat-chested. I'm not going to hire someone who doesn't...
Discrimination.
I know. But I mean, it's worldwide, right? I'm trying to present a certain picture. So by so doing, I have to hire people who have all those elements.
Mm-hmm.
But in doing that, you'll find that someone will be like, but I've got my cousin who can do ABC. Forgetting that, no, we have a whole picture that we're thinking of that will work for what we want to do. And not just your cousin. Your cousin does not cut it. It's the same thing in my case with makeup artists.
Yeah.
We want film makeup. We want special effects makeup. We want fake blood. We want bullet wounds, etc., etc.
Yeah.
There's someone who's been playing around in the kitchen with glycerin and stuff, right? How it'll reflect on camera is different to someone who's skilled using the appropriate products.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about my skill. It's not necessarily about the products used. It's also you understanding what the product requires.
Yeah.
What the product requires for us to have the look that we want, the product that we want to sell to people.
Yeah.
So I guess, there's a ladder to it. It's not just maybe the person is not educated enough or skilled enough. You also have to know what you're going after.
Okay.
That was,
Yeah.
yeah. Please repeat the question.
Sorry.
Value, you know, where,
Who determines the value?
yeah, who determines the value?
Both.
Ah,
And I say both because on the one end, like we said, the corporate has a certain level of understanding.
yeah,
And a corporate, whoever the decision maker is not going to go out of their way to watch a video by Chris Doe or whoever, who's going to be like, this is why you should respect creatives. He's not, or she's not, right? The onus is on you. Whether in that first discovery meeting, you need to communicate what the value of this project is. And that can be done several ways. So it can be through getting them to answer certain questions,
Yeah.
like asking, what does success look like to you? And they'll be like, oh no, we want this to be a countrywide project. We want to show it in all the cities and whatnot. And we expect to make this amount of money. Oh, usually they won't disclose that.
Yeah.
But they'll say, we expect to make this kind of
Yeah.
metrics and whatnot. Like, what are the metrics for success? And you'd say that based off the skills I have and the team I have backing and my experience and whatever, blah, 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 right? You sell yourself. You say, I would charge X amount.
Yeah.
Do you feel like X amount is worth investing for the value that you win?
as long as you put the question mark and there's money involved, it's going down.
It's going to go down.
Yeah.
No, fair enough. But you start high. If their budget was 5K, and I'm saying this purely because I've seen it and I've heard stories of it. Let's say they come to the table and they mind like, we're only going to pay this guy maximum 5K. If we can, we'll bring him down.
Yeah.
But how you then present yourself then determines what doesn't they make. Because they might come with 5K, but really the budget is really like 20K.
Yeah, that's
Right?
what sucks.
And sometimes the worst thing is that the people you're communicating with don't actually understand the value.
Exactly.
And they're not big enough decision makers.
Yeah.
So for them, I'm going to
Yeah.
hey, go meet with this guy. And these are the questions you should ask him and whatnot, right? But it's like, if you're working with me and I'm the decision maker, I'm the one who's directing the direction of whatever the visuals are, I need to be speaking to a decision maker.
Yeah.
With all this said, we need to educate our clients.
Yeah.
But on our end, the value we bring, there's value that you perceive for yourself, or like you say, I charge $2,000 per project. But if your work doesn't reflect that,
yeah.
So on your end, you need to make sure that what you're charging is worth it by market standards.
Yeah.
Sorry to interject. Do you think our clients can be educated?
Yes.
You think so?
100%. And I think we're going to speak about it a little later. But the reason I say this is that I've had the liberty of working with clients when I just started out.
Yeah.
When I was charging, I'll say this. And this is, we don't undercut anymore. $30 an hour for photography. And you ask yourself, like, you ask yourself 6 years.
We've all been there.
You know,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But you get it. We
Yeah.
all have that shared experience. You ask yourself, I've been in the game 6 years now.
Yeah.
6 years later, I'm like, I would not leave my house
For that.
for $30. $30 is what I charge you for a 30-minute consultation.
Yeah.
Just what you for my time.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
want to know, oh, how can we do? Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Maybe just give me 30 for
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah.
But $30 to give you quality images that I'm gonna spend 3-4. No, it doesn't make sense.
You have to start
You
somewhere.
know, but you have to start somewhere,
that's
rightfully said. And I think the work we put out, yes, showcase your great, like you've just done a makeup session. You showcase, oh, this is how we do our setup and whatnot.
Yeah.
Or this is the work we just did. This is our latest documentary. Oh,
Yeah.
this is my last shoot that I edited.
Yeah.
But they're just seeing the final product. Someone can only understand the value when they really understand what the kind of works that goes in.
Yeah.
So a lawyer is able to go and say, my hourly rate is $200. Just to sit with me and for you to tell me what your issue is,
yeah.
and me to say, okay, I will deliberate and get back to you.
yeah.
$200. Why? Because in our minds we know, they've done maybe 4 years
Yeah,
at
yeah,
UZ or
yeah.
wherever,
They're
right?
worried about it
And they've done their
every
bar
second.
exam.
Yeah.
They've then gone and done, they've put in their hours in internship, whether or not they're now working at a high-end legal firm.
Yeah.
So you, in your mind, you can calculate even
can
without
see
being
the
told.
value,
You can,
yeah.
okay, fair enough. I understand why you're 200. Whereas if a first-year student, who's probably not allowed to do that, but was to give you advice and you were to say, I'm charging you $200 as a first, they'll be like, who are you?
Yeah.
What do you know? Even though the person coming to you has never read a law book. You get it? So they don't care necessarily that they don't know, you know, but you have to find a way to communicate or show where your value is, you know, and I think that comes in different ways, which I guess hopefully we'll get into. But yeah.
I think for me, my issue is more on the creator side.
Okay.
I mean, there's lots of things from undercutting each other and, backbiting, etc. But I think the main one for me would be personal branding.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, art is subjective. Creativity is subjective. You know, what's
There's
beautiful
no
to one
right way
person.
to it, yeah.
There's no right way. But then I think what makes it stand out is that personal touch. Okay, I want to work with African Self-Esteem because I like his perspective, you know. And I feel like we undervalue that perspective, you know, because if you're getting a Christopher Nolan film, you know, and you're getting a what's that guy, who did The Irishman?
I'm so bad with names.
Scorsese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Martin Scorsese. Their approaches are very different,
Yeah.
you know, but they are very, I mean, they're well renowned,
Yeah.
you know, and it's that personal branding. And Nolan is famous to say, okay, whenever the effects that have to happen, they have to be practical. He has to build the actual set, you know. There's like not too much
CGI and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And that's his personal brand. And when producers are hiring him, they know there's going to be a high cost when it
this.
comes to the budget for this guy,
Yeah.
because he's going to want to build a physical thing. And I feel like we lack that personal brand to say, okay, this is who I am, this is how I shoot, you know. And when you're engaging with a client, sometimes the client will come with a work from your competitor and say, I want you to produce this. You should be confident enough to say, hey,
You might
This
as
is
well
not my
go to
style.
this
them.
is not my style.
Yeah.
If you want what I produce, this is what I produce. If this is not your cup of tea, be confident enough to let them go
To the next person.
to the next person.
Yeah.
And I feel like that adds to your brand as well, to say, okay, this person is confident in what they're selling.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, because I don't know whether it's because of the economy and people are hungry, someone will bring I want you to produce images like,
And you know you
yeah,
can't.
and then you say yes. The problem is now going to come and then you fail to deliver. It's not that you're a terrible artist.
It's not your.
It's not your forte.
That's not your signature,
Yeah.
basically.
So then now you're being judged, and then it's like, oh, creatives are unprofessional. But you went to a Nando's and asked for a KFC.
It doesn't make sense.
doesn't make sense.
That's a great
You know.
analogy.
Right.
That's a great
Yeah.
analogy.
And next question.
Cool.
In your, in, in your unique, in your opinion, what unique strengths do individual creators bring to the table? I know you touched on.
But you basically say them that branding, that finish, the signature. So I feel like, yeah, if you're gonna use an umbrella term, it's basically like your signature.
Yeah.
That's the uniqueness as a content creator, as a creative, basically. But as for everything else in business, especially considering who we're dealing with, how you deal with people, your people skills, communication skills, soft skills, your professionalism, all of that. I feel like that adds on. That's the most value you can add on to yourself as an artist, as a creative, as a content creator.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but yeah.
Or what about, let's put it in perspective of, so they are what we have now, digital content creators. And we have the traditional creators, which are your agencies.
Yeah.
You guys who did the old media, radio,
Yeah.
TV, newspaper. Like when you compare those two, so answering that question and comparing traditional with.
I don't think one can stand on their own at the moment. Well, maybe the digital, the new age, maybe they can because everything is being digitalized.
Yeah.
But I don't think, personally, these ones can stand on their own and not benefit or not need these. If you look at it, whoever they're trying to sell to, it's the younger generation, your millennials, etc., etc. Millennials are not used to jingles all the time.
Yeah.
They're not used to TV adverts all the time. They live their life on the go. They'll need someone who's got a YouTube, a TikTok, Threads, etc., etc. So these to stand on their own 2 feet without needing us, they need us more.
Yeah.
But then again, it's a situation whereby they have the financial muscle that we need. So it's a codependency kind of relationship at the end of the day. In a perfect world, these ones have the upper hand. The content creators, the digital era.
Yeah.
But for now, looking at how everything is set up, especially in our country, we kind of have to
Strike a balance.
Equilibrium.
Cool. So you said a few of the things that I wanted to share, like the financial
Obviously.
backing.
Yeah.
So you have obviously your traditional agencies, they have stronger financial backing. They're probably working with a very deep team, but I think that they have a lot more bias. So because they've been exposed or they've been created to work for corporates, everything of theirs is very, okay, what would a corporate need? And it literally puts them in a box, and whatever walls or doors are around that box, they lock them and throw away the key.
Hence
They're
why
never
I
willing to
asked,
step up.
can they be educated? That's what I wanted to.
I think they can, either from externally and internally, right? The difference with me as an individual, on the one hand, I know I have more to lose.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to either one, equip myself with the necessary skills, two, take a slight hit in order to gain access to the space. Because sometimes you save your client $300-400, but you've gained access to a space that you never would have gained access
one or
to.
two zeros there.
Well, no. I mean, I don't give discounts that more than $300. Yeah, you obviously at the same time, like your client still has to respect your fee, right? But let's say a client says, "Oh no, our budget is 1.7, and you want to charge them 2K." You have to weigh it out and be like, "Okay, now I will do it for 1.7, right? But I need this and this and this." Or that because of the structure of the agreement, you're going to have access to 1 or 2, 3, 4 people who will give you information about that specific niche, which allows you to then educate. You get it?
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, go for it.
20 years from now, you're going to be in the position where your clients are right now. It's going to be a new age. They're going to have their own ways of doing things. You're so bent on education, on being very, how can I say? You're pliable. You're not just stuck. You're not frigid, right? I can go around this way, that way, and then save them, and then do this, and then. But 20 years from now, unless you keep educating yourself, unless you're open-minded enough, unless you've traveled and you've seen the world in a different light and everything, do you think if another gen, I don't know what gen is going to be, their X or something, if they were to come and try to sell whatever you're selling to them, you can easily believe it, or you will be bent on what works, what's safe? Because that's where they are.
Fair enough.
How old are you now? Sorry.
I'm turning 28 next week.
Okay, so maybe 30 years from now. Exactly. 30 years from now.
Speaking personally, I would say that yes, because I've had to adopt a growth mindset.
Okay.
And that's the thing. You don't have to be a specific age to adopt a growth mindset. I think we were speaking of this before we started. Is that
You kind of have to.
no?
Or in your case, okay. Maybe.
No, but I even speak about, I've had conversations with people who are like 65 and they have the kind of mindset of someone who, as if they're 25 in their 20s.
But if
And
you-
it's because they've been open to listening to say to their kids,
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
you know?
that.
So obviously over time, their kids helped that shift in mindset.
Okay.
And then it has a ripple effect because when they're going and being decision makers in their corporates, you know, they're like, oh, okay, no, I understand.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
more open.
yeah.
Whereas someone who, I'll speak about this in the terms of patriarchy.
Yeah.
Anababa wedu hawaudzi zvinhu.
Yeah.
You know, traditionally,
Yeah.
you have very few fathers who will be willing to sit down with their son and be like, Dad, I think you did 1, 2, 3 wrong. Or can we have a conversation about this? It's like, my word is law.
Yeah.
I can never be wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that mindset has a ripple effect as well. Say on the kids or wherever it is they work, the opposite is there. There's a Tsumo, my Shona. I always just,
laugh.
right?
Okay.
No, I know the Tsumo. I'm just saying, I'm being honest. I don't know, maybe you saw the status. Earlier this week, I was planning my next shoot, my next video, right? And I wanted to end it off with the Tsumo. It's Ramba Kudzwa, akaonekwa Mbonje.
Should have let him finish.
Right? No, I know it. Hey, I even wrote it down. Right? But it's like, you educate. If you choose not to listen to me, cool, but I've done my bit. The cake is really huge, guys. Everyone can eat comfortably. But such by the time that these Gen Zs come into play, I've eaten. And I've made enough money to be able to be like, guys, I will take an
money-
advisory
Is
role.
there
Look at the
Ever.
money is
Is there
never
ever.
enough. Look at the current state of the world,
Money is never
everything
enough,
that
dude.
we won't mention.
This is why I said personally.
enough.
So
Personally,
from an
right.
optimistic point of view and
Oh,
being
okay.
pragmatic about it, it's like, if you are knowing that, let's put a figure. I like talking in figures. If I am making 200K a year, currently,
Yeah.
200K in a year, that's my net. Tell me what lifestyle I can, a decent lifestyle that I can't afford. If I then want to
But
be
do you
popular,
realize that the more money you make, the
more things you need.
Exactly.
Hierarchy of needs. Fair enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
And
basically, in a
expenses,
nutshell, what
yeah.
we're saying is your being pliable to certain decisions and etc. and everybody else around you depends on the ripple effect created by this generation right now, assuming everyone has a relationship with their kids. But then also keep in mind, these kids, the moment they leave like Form 5, Form 6, they're going to my first world countries. You don't see them. Then they come back, get married, go back, etc. So some never come back. There's a whole generation that has been overseas for like 20, 30 years now, and we don't even know about them. So for that bracket, that didn't have the influence from their kids, who were not open-minded enough, who didn't get to travel that much, who know how to do certain things a certain way, what happens?
they get left behind.
Suppose.
Yeah, legit. It's like with the Zoom hand.
But they're the ones with the money.
Fair
and
enough,
there's
but
a
it's
whole
not all of them.
generation
But
that...
So this is the beauty of the world. Things are split. There's equilibrium everywhere you go.
Not so
right?
much. There's
It's
one that
a
always
system
suffers.
like yin and yang. They can't be good without bad. They can't be great. They can't be positive
When
without
the bad is
negative.
bad is
right?
really bad.
Exactly, and that's fair. That's the
Okay.
way the world works. So obviously, you're gonna have some corporates that are being led by guys who are stubborn, who are not willing to rest on their laurels, or like take a step back and be like, maybe I'm
But
not. I'm being closed-minded.
the thing about that is the market, I mean, all things being equal, will be pushed to an equilibrium. And even if you resist, if you are a part of a big corporate, you'll be pushed
behind.
out,
Yeah.
either left behind or pushed out.
Like Nokia.
100%.
And you will adjust. The market will force you to adjust. I mean, like before COVID, we struggled to get corporates to realize that you can work with creators. But then COVID told people you have to.
And you can work from home.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be like...
Yeah. So it will happen whether they like it or not. And for me, the budget thing, I think it's a temporary thing, because if you look at the progression from the COVID times, now corporates are open and willing to work with creators,
Yeah.
And now I feel like as creators, we now need to equip ourselves. Like what you're saying is be agile enough to learn. I mean, right now there's like a kind of what can I say? Marketers, kryptonite, Chat GPT,
Yeah.
Yeah. And people are using it and they're not really sharing that they are. If you bring it up, people will act confused. Like what? But
That they're using it.
Now imagine the power of a creator, who is not bogged down by maybe a portfolio of 6 or 7 big clients who are demanding their work. And this person has got access to all these digital tools, and they are learning as fast as it's being released. The value of this person with time is going to be more than that of the
frigid one who just chooses to do
And I
things
feel
all
like it's now up to us as creators to start empowering ourselves. Learn. Don't be slow to learn. If there's a change, learn it quickly. Find fast ways of. Just be a fast follower and just be right behind.
Don't become obsolete.
Okay. So let's bring it to creativity.
Okay, cool.
Where is it you get a more creative product? This side, the creator side, or corporate? When it comes to, say, an example, a campaign,
That will then depend on who you're selling to. It all depends on who you're selling to be
explain.
honest. I'll give you an example. There's a Chibuku advert that we did a long time ago, right? It was a TV advert. And it's Chibuku, And the same company, Chibuku, will want to do Coke, whatever. It's the same audience. It's the same company, by the way, right? But audience or who they're selling to are completely different. So how do you then value that when the product is dependent on who you're selling to? Chibuku required us to be deep in the ghetto. Per growth point, all dirty, not even looking pretty. Even the makeup had to be like done in a way you could, okay, fine, etc, right? And then with Coke, on the other hand, it's bougie. They're at a party, they're using it as this and that, and it's hip and whatnot and whatnot. If I were to use the same aspect, the same template that I use on Chibuku to my audience with Coke, they would not value it as much. My work would not be considered good enough. So at the end of the day, who are you selling to determines the value of I don't know if it makes sense.
Okay. So what about in terms of creating concepts? The creator concepts, and I'll give an example. Let's say, these creators where they will have multiple personalities. There's that guy, Astra, he acts as the mom, he acts as the kid, and then he did
I get you from there. So let's say Astra has been hired by Jeep, right, Simoko, to sell a car, because Astra is like 2 million followers on TikTok. But 2 million followers, it's all university students. It's people at home who don't have really much to do, right? And then the one person, some CEO was thinking, I need to change my car. It's been I need to upgrade. This is like a 10-year-old car. Doesn't have a TikTok account. Hardly uses TikTok. Who has more value here? He would rather go to like an agency that takes very great concept pictures of the car and gets into the detail of the dash, the perks and all of that, and gets into the trimmings. Okay, fine, it's got a fine leather, whatnot, it's carbon,
but to your
all
point,
of that.
There's this kid.
I get it.
Zimcar
Spotter does high performance cars. No one's going to be buying an AMG every single day. He'll do a Lambo. He'll do like an M5.
I'm just saying he's a creator.
I get it. But he's a creator, but he's got his
different
own crowd. That's what I'm trying to say. Who are you selling to at the end of the day? So the value is not determined by the creator alone. It's determined by what you're selling and who you're selling to.
My thoughts are, I think there's space for, like you kind of are going towards that. It has to be a combined effort. So I think the biggest problem right now is brands don't actually know who they're selling to. They're
That's
selling
the thing.
to everyone.
Yes, there we go.
Ask yourself if you've ever felt like there's a specific ad that spoke to you that's come out of Zimbabwe. That you've actually been like, oh my word, this is for
I'm
me.
about to go because I saw this ad or this
it's
brand
just like,
ambassador.
it's mad. And I'm going to go back to the jingle. I hate the jingle.
Thanks.
Because I believe there's that Chibuku advert, the one with the bus, growth points. This old one from when probably that was created before I was even born. I'm pretty sure if you were to try put that side by side and the Chibuku advert made in the last 5 to 10 years, you can see like so many parallels, right? And the problem is that, one, they haven't evolved to the digital age we're living in. But two, they're not trying to take in as much or collect as much data about their people. Where the creators come in is, I believe that they're more intentional about who they're selling to.
They should be intentional.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and creating stuff for the audience.
Exactly.
So, for example, let's say with this podcast, right? You can bring us all in, and whoever's on is like, why?
Exactly.
I don't care.
Because
Right?
who's your target audience at the end of the
But
day?
maybe you've done a few, and then you've had someone in the comments be like, yo, I'd want to see people talk about creators versus corporates.
Yeah.
You've gotten feedback, direct feedback,
Tailor-made it.
right?
to suit.
But let me ask you, when Company X makes a jingle about their new product and they pay ZFM, Star FM, whoever FM to stream it and bother us midway through listening to Job Praiser while we're driving to work, and we're just listening to this jingle all over and over again, how do they know whether we like it or not? How can they ever
no
determine
feedback.
if there's been an ROI? That's the biggest problem. How do they know that I even want to listen to a jingle? Who wants to listen to a Fire Emoji remix, but it's saying buy my airtime? No. But you see, that's the problem. So like the creatives, we're constantly seeking feedback. YouTube, what's always the call to action on YouTubers? Across the board, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Yeah. Right.
You're creating space for a conversation rather than speaking at
And
your
now you're
audience.
producing stuff they actually want to
Get it?
consume.
So it's like you can still have your own creative style to it, but you need to know that if you're trying to get 50,000 people to engage with your content, there has to be some kind of common pool. You may have 30 ideas, but only 15 are appealing to the people who are actually going to click and follow your content, and it's going to make it shareable. A simple example: I, as someone maybe who's I have like 3,500 followers. I don't even have that many. I can bet you my highest performing reel has performed better than anything any other corporate has done organically, and I don't even have a big following. Now imagine an Astra.
Yeah.
Right? And the problem is the brand decides, no, let's call Astra. Because he has a big following.
But you
does he
know
align
what?
with
To
your
some
brand?
extent, it works. Like, I'll give you an example here, Astra. Like, there's this whole Pizza Inn double.
Yeah.
I would have never known that. Because you just go, you see the board there,
And then
you
you
order
But,
what you
but
usually
at that
order.
moment,
Yeah.
you're like a target audience because you eat pizza. Who doesn't eat pizza?
That
but
was
we're
good.
talking of like, imagine if Astra was to be hired by Zimoko. Do you get it now?
Can I actually give an example of how Astra could work for that? So the difference is, how are you distributing the content? If you're bringing Astra in to just be a face of something, but you have your distinct distribution channels, that then feeds into, okay, our distribution, like you said, one who buys an AMG guy has to have like 350K in the bank. Auntie, I don't have 350K in the bank. So if I'm seeing this and I follow Astra on TikTok, it's like, okay, cool, that's a great ad, but what does it do for me? So it's like, how are you going to get it to that person, but still use Astra to convey the message you want to be conveyed, right? So a simple example, Astra, if you get the gig for Zimoko, plug us, bro, is that Astra
Because we've
comes
been
in-
mentioning your
we've been
name,
mentioning,
like,
right?
wow.
If he comes in and his personalities are 5 different types of corporate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Zimoko wants to show that we have a car for every kind of.
Okay, I think you
every
need
kind
like
of
that's
corporate.
intellectual property that you're selling now. You need
No,
to
it's
sign
okay.
an
I
NDA.
like
Now he's
maybe
getting
if
ideas.
Zimoko, if you're watching
Gatekeeping.
this, so ma'am, hit me up. You can have ideas. I'll forgive it. I like to give free game, you know. So it's like you have lower management, middle management, upper management, executive, right? And if you were to break down the Zimoko cars, there's something for everyone. Someone who's just gone from being an employee to lower management can probably afford a C200, maybe a 2019, auntie. Your middle management can afford the C200 year 2022.
Yeah.
Your upper management is like, no, I need an E-class.
Yeah.
Your executive AMG, you know, your S-class, your, what's it called, Maybach, whatever it is, something more custom-made. But you're showing, and this is now goes back to, what is Zimoko trying to produce? Like
At
you
the
said,
end
you
of the
have to-
day, tailor make your content to suit your audience. You
as
can't
well as
just-
align with your brand.
Exactly.
So Zimoko
yeah.
has to
I'll-
ask themselves and be able to say, we want to sell to 1, 2, 3, 4 types of people. How do we, if you want to minimize your cost for production, how do we speak to those 4 kinds of people in the same ad? Auntie? And then you're saying, okay, we'll set this amount aside. Astra, this is the concept we have. If you can give us the idea, cool, right? Or you say, Astra, we want you to be a face. African selfie stick, we need the idea. Can't we just give an idea? Here's the idea. Astra's the face. I direct. You guys just give us guidelines. This is how we're supposed to move. This is the message. We bounce off ideas. We sit down like this. Boss, this is the idea we have. you know, she's coming in this role, I'm coming in this role.
Yeah.
This is what we think it'll achieve.
Yeah.
You, because you understand your brand better than I will ever, right?
Yeah.
You have all the data, you have all the figures, you have historical, whatever. You'll be able to say, this might not work, or this might work.
yeah.
So this goes back to the
But
kind
then-
of questions we ask.
But
The
then
uniqueness
now,
you talked about,
what you're saying, the ideal situation is a collaboration where we're sharing ideas so that
Yeah.
the main objective is to get whatever message we want out to as many people.
Yeah.
And
Not as many people, the right people.
Targeted
the right
audience,
people,
yeah.
and convert to sales.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But is that what's happening now?
No.
That's
if
why I
you come to
asked.
the table with your idea as or are you even given that room?
That
or
platform.
yeah.
So I asked, like, do you think they can be educated? Because at the end of the day, that's always a stumbling block. You can have all the ideas, but to be being led, or the people in the way are hardliners, they have a set way of thinking. They do not budge.
As creatives, in as few words as possible, what would you recommend we do? Is it important to fight for that vision, to produce outstanding work, or it's better to just get paid and keep quiet?
I'll be pragmatic. It's yeah, I'm not even going to try and be optimistic or whatever, I'll be pragmatic. Until there's a shift in power, there's a shift in management, in decision making, we will always go back to doing everything for the money. We won't, passion can only take you so far, talent can only maintain you for so long. But if there's no shift in the mindset of the decision makers, at the end of the day, we'll do things for the money because you have to leave, you have bills to pay. Even though we have the ideas, a few privileged ones will go out there and say, I'm going to pursue my talent, I'm going to do A, B, C, and D to get myself recognized. But the lot of us are going to be like, I've invested so much.
Yeah.
At the very least, let me get paid for
Yeah.
A, B, C. This is what's been happening with a lot of them. Not to say we're not creative, or not to say we don't have new ideas, or we can deliver A, B, C. But the people who are capable of carrying the dream are not willing to play ball.
Sometimes you kind of have to just do it for the money, you know. But if you're really passionate enough about creating the kind of work you want to create, one, your portfolio should reflect it. Which if that means you're creating the work for yourself.
Yeah.
So you may actually just go to Zimoka and be like, you know what, guys, I want to do this because this idea I have, and I know that you don't know me. You may think I'm inexperienced and I don't have the what. So I'm going to come and do this for you guys for free, or for 10% of what you genuinely would have paid for something this thing, so that you can see how it looks, feel if it's good for you and whatnot. On the one hand, yes, you haven't made as much money, but one, you've had, I think the biggest thing, and I learned this from, I'm going to plug in Tinashe Gakaka, Gax Photography. Access is more important. Access is the most important. You can create whatever you want and have, if you get access to spaces where someone, you just need one good decision maker to hear what you have to say, that's your win. Because what I'm hearing is we have great ideas. They're not reaching the right ears. If this is only watched by people who have just started work or who've just graduated, then this is probably going to fall on deaf ears. But if we have an exec, or even exec,
That's the one access
you
that
get
we
that.
need right now, just to open
that's
doors.
it. So sometimes you have to fight and just get your money.
Can I bring it back to you?
Yeah,
I think again it falls on us, the creators, because
100%.
If you look at corporate, especially places like let's
get Zimoka out of and try something else.
Mercedes.
Cool.
Talk about Mercedes. There's an R&D department.
Yeah.
You know, so these guys realized, okay, Tesla is coming out with an electric car. Regulations are changing across Europe and the world, and we now need to start developing the next luxury electric car.
Yeah.
You know, okay, what does it need to have? Range. It needs to have all the things that it needs to have, and they put money into developing products.
Yeah.
There are car shows that happen, and you get to see concept cars, and then they get feedback to say, okay, you know, and then they go back on the drawing board, and then finally, maybe a year, 2 years down the line,
You get the same
a
or
product.
similar product.
Why is it that creators don't do R&D? Why? Let me finish.
Yeah, okay.
Why don't we take our own money, spend a year, you know, test out ideas. Some will fail, some will work. Spend your own money in trying to demonstrate your level of creativity, thoughtfulness, and including their brand. Because what we're asking for corporates to do is them gamble with their money on our ideas, And if it doesn't work, you walk home.
They've
you're
taken on
fine.
the biggest risk and the biggest loss. Yeah.
Yeah, they've made the biggest loss, and you like I've gained some experience, and now I know that doesn't work. You go to the next corporate, and why don't you come to us with a portfolio of work that you've done, work that you've invested in? I mean, like when you look at creators, we're buying expensive gear. You could literally book a trip to
Thailand, Bangkok,
Thailand,
whatever,
and create amazing content, and be back here.
And then pitch it
Yeah.
to clients.
Okay, so can I just quickly answer before I lose my train of thought?
Yeah.
You seem to forget that you're comparing us to first world countries with economies that work. Let's take your current
Isn't that an excuse?
it's not an excuse, it's a fact. It's a fact. Let's take someone who's 25, 24, fresh out of uni, you have dreams, hopes, aspirations, ambitions, etc. You also have something called black tax. You also have people looking at, okay, fine, what do you bring to the table? Then you say, I want to be a creative. And then you find that this creative industry is very difficult. It's driven by passion, yes, but you have to want to make it. And it's not going to reward you within the next 5 or so years. You are not making as much as you're making now within the first 5 years. You're basically learning the trades, getting your name out there, buying etc, right? You can't expect someone who's just started or who's been in this game for less than a decade to sacrifice the little they're making to invest so they can be
But
seen.
if it was easy, everyone would do it.
No, but you seem to forget that this is Zim. Zim is an economy where we live hand to mouth, where we rarely have savings. If I was to ask you, how much do you have in your savings account right now? How much do all of you have in your savings account? You'll find that maybe out of the room, you'll find that not more than 3 people have 5,000 in their savings account. For rainy days. We live from hand to mouth. But those things have to be funded by something. But already you've got a whole bucket load of things you have to take care of. Unlike Gamo, she's been in this game for 15 years. She can choose to say, oh, I need to go to this podcast. Let me cancel this client, or let me not take this client, etc. There's someone who's been waiting, who's like, I need those
be
3.
going
I can't exactly. Do you get it? So give us time. In a perfect world, we would. Because there's so many creatives who are trying so hard. You can see there's the eagerness, the enthusiasm, there's everything. But our economy just does not allow us to. The few who are lucky, the few who have been privileged enough, the few who had the access he talked about, who are in the right spaces, the few have traveled. They can nurture that.
It's a mindset.
It may be a mindset, but we also have to be very realistic about it.
Okay. Maybe I can jump in. 2 things. The one thing, the more you F around, the more you find out. Right? I don't know that's why I don't want to swear. So generally, your capacity to F around, the more you find out. If you F around at level 1, you'll reach that ceiling and all you ever do is hand to mouth. And that's literally that's how Zimbabweans have been run. Because if it really was a situation where this is across the board, we wouldn't have people who can afford to go into Zimoka and buy a benzo. Right? So there's some people who F'd around, and it's also luck. Sometimes it's a bit of luck.
You do realize you don't have a middle class in Zim anymore,
Fair
right?
enough. But what I'm saying is that there's division. And for you it's not just one pool of class. There's even lower class. Part in the upper lower class, middle lower class, lower class. It's this segregation. And it's like, how do you jump from one class to the next? You F around and you find out. And then the second thing I want to say, and I said this is the video that you showed me. We operate in a difficult environment. You choose to either be an egg, a carrot, or a coffee bean. These are the 3 types of people. You put us in hot water. What happens to the egg? It goes from soft to hard.
One gets hard.
Exactly. One gets soft. But the coffee bean changes the environment. So obviously changing the environment requires a little more gusto, a little less conformity. You're going to have dry months where Muachos decide, hey, I'm going to conform. And they're making kamarika again. Every month, right?
But you always find some people want to conform, some people
And that's okay.
take the money, some people are willing to sacrifice.
That's the life we're in. That's the world we're living in.
Yeah.
You know what? I thank you so much for the time that you've taken. And I feel like there is an education that needs to happen. Yeah. Sometimes because of access and exposure, we get to see what it's like out there.
Yeah.
You get to talk to international people, they open your eyes to see certain things. And I feel like what Gamu is saying, there's a lot of things that are not the way they're meant to be in Zim specifically.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when you look at image rights, we were talking about that earlier, and
Copyright.
yes, copyrights, you know, IP, like there's a whole lot of things, but I feel like just because they're not where they're not supposed to be doesn't mean we should stop striving to get them
100%.
where they are.
100%.
So thank you again, and I'll ask you to just repeat where people can find you.
All right.
Yeah.
You want me to go first now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on Instagram, makeup_by_Gamu. On Facebook, makeup by Gamu. And our work line is 0772-443392. So we've got our WhatsApp catalog for everything that you might need there, detailed. Yeah.
Cool. I am the African Selfie Stick. I operate on Instagram and Threads. And Taekwondo Augustine Chipara on LinkedIn. WhatsApp 0716969967. Hit me up.
Thank you for tuning in, and see you in the next one.
Cheers.
Picture Hub is a fully fledged content creation studio based in Harare, Zimbabwe. At our core, we are storytellers with a focus on film production, photography, and voice recording. We believe that the essence of any organization, corporate brand, or individual is a well-curated story. Our passion lies in bringing these stories to life authentically with undeniable excellence. Our portfolio includes television commercials, web series, documentaries, podcasts, and voice recordings. For more information, visit our website www.picturehubzim.com or email info@picturehubzim.com for inquiries.